Yeah, we are live now, ma'am.
Nitya? Sagati, you can just introduce
Yes,
Nitya.
Okay, ma'am. So, good evening, faculty members and all the delegates. Thank you for joining. This is Sahiti on behalf of Shield Connect, welcoming you all for today's webinar on relationships, organized by Foxy No to Violence Against Women Committee and World Association of Sexual Health. So, it's my privilege to introduce the embassy of today's webinar, Dr. Nitya ma'am. Ma'am is the consultant at Institute of Reproductive Medicine, Madras Medical Mission, Chennai, former assistant professor at Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. So I welcome you, ma'am, and I hand the session to you.
hello and welcome one and all present. On the occasion of World Sexual Health Day, I'm truly honored to have you all here for today's webinar. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be with us. Sexual health is a vital aspect of overall well-being, and today's webinar is all about raising awareness, breaking down the stigmas. We have got a lot of exciting and insightful content to share with you all, and I'm confident you'll find it valuable. Having a webinar on the topic relationships by the Foxy No to Violence Against Women Committee and the World Association of Sexual Health. I encourage everyone to ask questions, participate in conversations, and take away meaningful insight. With that, let's begin with the Tamil Varthal, which refers to the Tamil language as a motherly figure and pray for the blessings of prosperity and well-being. To begin today's event, on an auspicious note, we will now have the traditional lighting of Kuthuvilakku, which is often performed at the beginning of important events. The lamp signifies the dispelling of darkness, ignorance, bringing in light, wisdom, and prosperity. I would like to hand over the next section to Dr. Jairani Kamaraj ma'am for the proceedings. Dr. Jairani Kamaraj ma'am is a senior consultant of reproductive medicine, director of Akash Fertility Center and Hospital, Vadapalni, Chennai. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nitya. Thank you for your wonderful inauguration we have started. And it gives me a great pleasure and honor to be here on this wonderful webinar, one of its important kind, which stress the positive relationship. We know pretty well the sexual health is always a good mind, body, and all this very important ends in a relationship which is very important. So positive relationship have very many benefits, including it improves your physical and mental and psychological and social, and even every aspect of your sexuality is maintained with a positive relationship. And I'm very thankful to World Association for Sexual Health and World Association Sexual Health Committee for making this year, this 21st year World Sexual Health Day celebration theme as positive relationship, which is very much needed among all the human beings all over the world. It have a lot of impacts on the on an individual note. They increase your confidence, it increases your trust, it increases your well-being, and it increases every aspect of your life. To have a positive relationship in every aspect, and all the more with the sexual health, that improves your relationship with a partner. And I'm very honored to have here in this webinar, which is organized along with the FOXY, that is our Federation of Obstetric and Gynecologists, and with the No to Violence Against Women Committee, FOXY. We have here very many doyens in this field to talk on this wonderful content. And I'm very honored to have our President of World Association for Sexual Health, the young and dynamic Dr. Elna, who is from South Africa, who is very dynamic in her active work as a president in the society, in the association all over the internationally. And she has been doing a lot of tremendous work on the sexual health for the women. And I'm really proud and honored to be associated with her for the past 8 years. So we have been doing a lot of work with her guidance and with her eminent leadership. And she is actually the senior consultant in the sexology in South Africa. And she's a sexology training club which is bridging the gap in the sexology and training around the globe. She's the first doctor in South Africa to obtain a higher diploma in sexual health and HIV medicine through the College of Medicine in South Africa, and obtained a master's degree in Sydney in Australia. And she has been a dynamic person who is working in the World Association of Sexology, conducted a very great conference 4 years back. And she has been a lot of doing for the vision of bringing the sexual health a holistic improvement all over the world, and especially for the women in the developing country. And we are very proud and honored to have you, Dr. Elna, here to say a few words on the presidential note, to share your insights and bless our webinar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jarani Kamaraj. It is an honor for me that you have invited me. We are serving together on the executive committee of the World Association for Sexual Health. And I thank you for being such a strong ambassador for sexual health in India, and for pulling your colleagues together, such esteemed colleagues, together for a special celebration on World Sexual Health Day, and particularly for choosing a topic that is so important in positive relationships, and that is the prevention of violence against women. I just want to make sure that we are recording this session, because I see we've got such excellent speakers here, and on my side it does not look like it's recording. So someone is definitely recording.
Yeah, it's recorded and it's live streamed also in FB. Yeah.
Okay, no, I just want to check, because we can also share again this information through the newsletter of WAS, so that more people can even take a look at the excellent content that you created here. So I just wanted to share briefly with our guests here about the World Association for Sexual Health. So I just put up a short presentation. As you can see, we are a global organization, and we are aimed towards all people. Our vision is sexual health and rights for all, but we are primarily focused towards professionals who work in gynecology, for instance, or in psychology, because all of you also render sexual health services. If people come to the gynecologist, they expect that they can speak to you as if you are a sexologist. So WAS is a very good place for you to belong. There is our vision: sexual health and rights for all. And this year, the theme for World Sexual Health Day, which is celebrated on the 4th of September every year globally, we had hundreds and hundreds of people who engage with us on social media showing what they are doing to talk about positive relationships. This is our one event in a year where we are aimed at the general public. And whenever WAS shares information, we make sure that it is scientific, evidence-based, rights-based, experience-informed, and culturally sensitive. And, you know, I come from South Africa, where almost all people in South Africa are very religious. And I come from a religious background myself, where talking about sex is a taboo. And it is not that easy. We as doctors are also not taught how to talk about sex in our medical school. We are trying to improve that now, but I understand what it's like. I've been to India many times myself as well before, and I understand about your culture that it's not always that easy. So I commend you for opening up this conversation with your patients. WAS is a global organization, and we've got federations in every area. And the federation in your area is Asia Oceania Federation of Sexology. And I also encourage you to actively get involved with your federation. And a way to do that is there is a mobile application now for WAS. If you look on the screen, you can see here, if you take a picture or here on Google or on the App Store, if you take a picture of that QR code, it will get you to exactly down to the WAS application, or if you just put it into your App Store, and there you can sign up for free. And many of the features of WAS you can get for free, but you can also become a direct member of WAS and have access to the International Journal of Sexual Health, where you will learn a lot. And you have access to all of our webinars, our declarations. So this is a great tool for you to learn more about sexual health for free, or if you are a member of a member organization, it's only $50 to be a part of the World Association for Sexual Health. And then I would like to invite you to please save this date, the 16th to the 19th of June. Next year in Australia, we have a conference, and we would really like to warmly invite you to come and spend 4 days with the World Association for Sexual Health. Believe me, it will change your world. It will change your whole practice. It is so much fun to spend time with other sexologists and for all of us to learn from each other. And WAS is very active on social media. We have a newsletter that goes out every week. You can learn a lot from there. You can share all our resources. So please connect with us on our various social media pages. This code here on the right can also scan you straight to all of the connections. And yes, with that, I thank you again, Dr. Jairani Kamaraj, for inviting me to celebrate this World Sexual Health Day with you. And thank you for hosting this webinar. And thank you so much to all of the esteemed guests that are present tonight and that are going to share. I wish you all of the success.
Thank you, Elna. Thank you for your inspirational words. And definitely, we look forward for the Brisbane, and we will be in a huge number. We will be definitely joining the AOFS there, and all the AOFS members. Many of them are in India. They will be definitely joining Brisbane, because that's what I heard from the AOFS president. So thank you so much for sharing your time in the midst of your busy schedule, and I'm very honored to have you here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I'm very happy to introduce the chief guest, Dr. Jaideep Tang sir and Dr. Madhuri madam. Both of them are held up in another work, so they may be joining at any time. And I'm very happy and honored to introduce them. Sir is the president, FOXI. Can I have sir's slide, CV, please? Nitya, can you share sir's slide? Jaideep Tang sir's slide.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Sir is the president, FOXI 2024-25. He is the project lead of the FOXI USAID projects, and he's the previous chair of the OIG-AA committee of AOFOG, and he is the Secretary General, past Secretary General of FOXI between 2018 and 21. and he has been awarded FRCOG honoris causa by the Royal College of OBGYNs. And he's the past president of the Mumbai OBGYN Society. And Sir has contributed very many things for the FOXI, the very important being the instrumental in drafting the proposal for FIGO, which resulted in a grant of $13 million for our country, which is a dream project, which is almost 8 in Africa and 1 in South America, and was the technical lead for this project. And he has contributed to the FOXI in getting the electronic membership management system and the e-voting for FOXI, and developing a completely redrafted user-friendly constitution for FOXI, and contributed and led the development of the FOXI statements on cesarean rates, hysterectomy rates, contraceptive implants, ART bills, surrogacy bills, FOXI VP and the interventions, and in Supreme Court on PCP entity and IRA case, the oxytocin case, and others restructuring the FOXI cells, the minutes of the FOXI MCM and the GBM, and several other initiatives. And we are very happy to and honored to have him here. But Sir will join once his time permits. Can I have Madhuri Madam CV? Yeah, Madam is the first very vibrant women Secretary General of FOXI. She was the Joint Secretary of FOXI between 2009 and the former committee member of FIGO preterm birth. And she's the Honorary Clinical Associate of North Wadia Hospital, Parel, Mumbai. And she's the Associate Editor Journal of our Jogi and Honorary Consultant of the Police Hospital in Mumbai, and also Elizabeth Mazina Hospital, Mumbai. Madam has very many publications, both national and international journals, and she is the Associate Editor of FOXI award-winning book, Gynecological Cancer, 2007. And Madam is also busy, both Sir and Madam is busy in work. They will be joining with us little later. Can I have our guest of honor CV, Madam Jayam Kannan, Madams? Yes. So we are very honored to have here Madam Dr. Jayam Kannan, who is a very dynamic person from our part, that's Tamil Nadu. Madam is the Vice President of FOXI between 2018 and 19. She's the MD of the Grahar Rakshambiya Fertility Center, Chennai and Trichy. She's the first Indian to get the Distinguished Service Medal from RCOG in 2019, and the President of India Medal for the Outstanding Performance in MBBS, and winner of 13 medals and prizes in MBBS, State First in MBBS, University First in MD, Best Paper Award 4 times. And she has done the Best Book in Medicine Award 2 times by Government of Tamil Nadu. And she's the awardee of Durisha and S.N. Pandit Award of FOXI for the community work she has done. And she's the winner of the Dufferin Countess Merit Scholarship for the MD study period. And she has achieved the Life Achievement Award of IMA 2009 and the Best Doctor Award from Thiruthurai-Pondi in 1999 and the Tamil Nadu MGR Medical University Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011. And she has been felicitated by the Instar Society of India in 2017. And she has got the Maruthuva Mamani Award in 2018. Over to you, Madam, to share your words of wisdom.
Thank you, Jairani. Thanks. I think the slide has been given by somebody else. What I sent now is little different. I don't put all these things. I only put 4 lines on that. Anyhow, thanks.
Madam, it's good to know about all your past, ma'am. That always imbibes the young and youth who are seeing this webinar.
I had been given the RCOG Distinguished Service Award, you know.
Yes, ma'am. That is there.
That is one thing which was missing in your slide. That is one thing which really makes me feel proud, because in the 90 years of history, they have given the first Distinguished Service Medal for me. And which for that, I am very much indebted to the RCOG Society also. Now coming to this thing, Jairani, I am literally happy to see you on this platform of positive relationship. In an era where the positive relationship is getting distanced very much, both not only in the couple, in between relatives, even our own brothers and sisters, parents and children, and everything, even friends. We used to say friendship has got an expiry date, because I don't remember who was my friend when I was doing 10th standard. Am I right? Not. College, we still remember because of our batch meetings and other things. But this relationship, which is one thing which can never keep yourself until your lifetime, is a positive relationship that exists in the family. Last week, I was at Ghaziabad, where all of us know very well Professor Usha Sharma and her husband. Professor Usha Sharma is around 85 years and her husband was 87 years. In the last 40 years, I have never seen Usha Sharma without her husband in the conference. At all places, even at the difficult time, they used to walk slowly but walk together. This time, last week, when I saw her alone, not only there were tears in her eyes, the tears were running in my eyes also. We really feel proud of this sort of accomplishments which we have in India. Of course, more than anywhere in the world, India is one place where we have got so many pictorial guidelines on how our life should be kept together by all our Kama Sutra pictures, which are there in the books, and all the temples, which are about 1,500 years old, 2,000 years old. In these temples, all the temple pictures will have lot of guidelines on sexual life. One temple at Tiruchi, where there is a separate hall itself, where all these exhibits are kept. These things will be about 6 to 8 inches statues which are there in that hall. And of course, it's not kept open to the public because they may come and scratch something in that. So we have kept it at a place called Tirupattur is a village, which is supposed to be 3,000 years old temple. And we have all the pictures. Even if somebody is able to have difficulty in their positive relationship, how to have that by improving the physical relationship, by improving the emotional relationship, how you can have more positive relationship is well exhibited in all our pictures throughout the exhibits in all over our country. We have to take time if we don't have any material. But now, of course, in the last 30 years, we have plenty of materials in all over the world. And down south, I will say, Jayarani and Kamaraj are the two people whom in the last 25 years have been openly able to talk about positive sexual relationship, positive family relationship. I still, of course, now I don't know whether he's still talking. Kamaraj is one person. At 11 o'clock, 10:30 in the night, he'll be giving half an hour lecture in Sun News. Am I right, Jayarani? Which one?
Sun and many channels, ma'am, many TV channels. And Vasant, Sun.
Vasant. Of course, I'm about this thing. I used to see that, and I used to see that very nicely. He doesn't give this thing picture which is something which is negative. He makes it very, very positive, and I used to love it. Of course, at that time and all, because I was reading other books, I used to have it as my friend. Because something running in the TV is my friend when I am doing late night work. So I cannot forget Kamaraj and Jayarani for their bold output in their work. I wish they are able to continue it along with their other work as violence against women, in which she is now very much into concentration. Because as positive relationships are coming down, violence against women is mounting up. It was within the two closed doors of the house. Now it is open out also. As Gandhi said, a woman, if she is able to stand at 12 o'clock in the night in the street, then only independence has been achieved. I think this committee should take forward, along with the violence against women committee of where Kiranmayi is leading up. And that should be positive. And I hope Jayarani takes over from Kiranmayi and leads the committee very well. And of course, I can't forget my young child, Shaijas. Even though he is a midlife management committee chair, but nowadays midlife is, I think, is above 50. Am I right, Shaijas? Midlife
we can keep it above 60, ma'am.
Above 60. Yeah.
60.
I still consider myself in the evening of my life. I am not into the early night. I am in my evening of my life. But he at his very young age has taken this committee and he has gone very nicely. I wish him, bless him for a nice future ahead. With this, I wish this CME a great success and Jairani a glorious success. And I am very sure that we will work for you for that success. Thank you,
Well,
Jairani.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your nice words and thank you for your encouragement. And a very special thanks for joining with us, even midst of your busy schedule. Thank you, madam.
I was
Thank
in
you.
another meeting. I came running
Yeah.
because it was 5:59.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Sajas.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Thank you
So
for
we-
joining.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So can I have the CV of Dr. Varsha? So I'm very happy and very much joyous to introduce my very good friend Varsha, who from Nasik, who is the vice president of Foxy from the West Zone. And she's such a dynamic person, very friendly to all. And she has so many friends. Almost many of the friends in Foxy know her as a very, very best friend or very best human who is very positive about the relationship. So this webinar, when I think of it, I always think that it is the friendship, that the relationship always matters among our specialty, because we in our busy practice, we don't have time for friendship. We don't have much time to spend with friends, but she's such a person who has a very great WhatsApp group, who talks, chats, express, enjoys, be happy. Everything is so much bubbling in that group, and I'm really very happy to see that group because it gives you more energy, more friendliness, more close to heart with everyone all over our country. So Varsha, you are the apt person for this webinar to be as our guest of honor. And I'm really nice to have you in midst of your troubles at home. You have this so much of nice heart to come inside in this inauguration to say a few words. And I'm thanking you for your being with us. Thank you, Varsha. Over to you.
Thank you, Jairani Kamraj, for such a lovely and nice introduction of mine. And you have made the Varsha Vaste Fascinista group very famous now. And good evening, everybody. And I'm really glad to see Dr. Jayam Kannan, my co-guest of honor and really revered lady. And she is such a dashing lady, and I always pleasure to hear, watch her. And I'm really happy to be co-chairing my guest of co-chairing guest of honor. This webinar on relationship is really exclusive idea of Dr. Jairani. I'm really happy to be part of this one. Relationship is the basic of everybody's life, and we realize it when we mature more and more, and when we age, we know the importance of positive relationships. And the stalwarts here are really fantastic. The speakers like Sajas, Jamana Pai, Jairani Harsen, Nimla, and the topic selection by Jairani tells her exclusive intelligence and her dedication and passion to submit, to give more than what is expected, and to give better and better avenues of thinking and ideas by discussions of, through such webinars. And this webinar on relationship, rightly on the sexual health day, like 4th September, she has organized it with Dr. Kiranmai Devanani, the dynamic chairperson of WOW, and Aruna Suman. All my friends are here scattered everywhere. I can see on this brochure and all. And the topics really are fantastic. Means it's really a treat for ear and knowledge, and so much add-on of updates we will be getting. So I'm really happy, Dr. Jairani. Thank you for inviting me and making me the part of this fantastic webinar. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Varsha, for your nice words. Thank you so much for joining us, Varsha. And I'm really pleased to see you with your energy, and I'm very thankful for joining us. So
Pleasure
we have,
to see you.
yeah,
Let's-
it's good. So I have the great pleasure to introduce the chairperson of the committee, which is working now along with Foxy for this webinar, the dynamic young Kiran Mai, who is the chairperson of this committee. Kiran, can I have Kiran Madam's CV? Sahiti, can I have CV? Yes, she is the, one word I can put her is a very strong, very much energetic, and a very, very, vision work women who is really working for the BIRA, which is really an initiative taken by Shanta Madam, and she is taking it up in a so beautiful way to work for the women, for all this violence against women, which is a very important thing that we come across nowadays in day-to-day life. Every category of women go through any form of violence in their life. So here's we have with us Kiran Mai, who is the chairperson of the Foxy No to War Committee 2022-25. She's the core member of the Foxy Youth Cell and also core member coordinator of TOT and faculty for BIRA initiative, which is a Stop Violence Against Women. And she's the member of ISABAB, IMS, and many of the societies. And over to you, Kiran, for your words.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jia. I think I'll not take too much of time because we have heard none other than the president of WAS. It was very inspiring to hear her and her commitment. And it was really great to have her here. And also JM Madam, our mentor and guide. And Varsha Madam is going to be, I think, my committee's in charge next year. So we have heard them all. I'll not take much time. I think we have very illustrious, wonderful speakers eagerly listening to all the topics. One is Dr. Shaijas, and you are talking on violence against women. Then we have Dr. Nirmala speaking on pregnancy and the positive relationship. And let me not come in between the talks for which we have gathered here. And all the best for all your future endeavors. And I wish the No to Violence Against Women Committee should have less and less work. That should be the goal and aim, unlike Midlife Committee. Thank you so much.
So if they work well, then there will not be much in our side, Kiran, because midlife is the stage where they go through a lot of crisis.
Yeah,
and if they are very healthy, we won't be having much of violence.
Work for the midlife. I wish our work should be less and less as we move into the future. Thanks, Jirani.
Thank you, Kiran, for giving the positive aspect of this violence in a positive relationship, which is really a need of an hour, that every woman should feel very positive to live with the relationship without violence. That is what our vision and mission. So thank you so much for being with us and giving me a free hand to work on this every webinar, every part of the committee work. Thank you so much for being with us. And now over to you, Nitya, for the academic session.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now moving to the academic session. Can I have the chairperson's CV, please? For the first session, we have a chairperson, Professor Hepzibah Kirbamani, ma'am. She is a former superintendent of government RSRM hospital. Madam is a past president of OXY, past president of Chennai Menopause Society, and past chairperson of IMS, and also was the joint treasurer at IMS 2024 to 2025. And she also received 2 consecutive year Best Society Award during the CMS president tenure. And our next chairperson would be Dr. M. Gomati, ma'am. She's a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist, PG Women and Child Care Clinic at Avadi. Can we have the I invite the chairpersons to introduce the first speaker and to introduce the topic. Can we have the next CV?
Can I have the CV of Citate? Yeah, it's my proud privilege to introduce Citus. I think he doesn't require any. Am I audible?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Very
ma'am.
much.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, yes. He doesn't require any introduction here at this forum. He's very, very good in delivering his subject, and it's a nice way of talking. And he's, apart from that, he's a very good singer. And he's the chairperson for Midlife Management Committee of FOXY, Joint Secretary, Kerala Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology, past chair, Research Committee of KFOG, past president, Kannur OG Society, fertility specialist, and gynec laparoscopic surgeon. I think to enumerate his awards, I think it will take another day. I think he's going to deliver on a beautiful topic. Over to Saijas.
Thank you.
Dr. Saijas.
Thank you, madam. Can I share my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. I hope my slides are visible and I'm audible.
Yes, Dr. Saijas, you are very much
First of all,
visible. Yeah.
thank you so much for this opportunity. Incidentally, I think before I even completed my gynecology post-graduation, the first certificate that I have received for competing and winning a quiz contest was from Chennai when I was doing my PG in JIPMER. And incidentally, that certificate carried the signature of Hepzibah madam.
Thank
So, so I think she happens to be. I think years have gone on, and I have had this pleasant opportunity to meet her, to know her, and we have been working together as part of Indian Menopause Society and Midlife Committee. I think it is such a pleasure. I just remembered that when Madam introduced me to this audience. First of all, thank you so much, Jayarani Madam, Dr. Kiranmayi, and the entire team from both the associations, the FOXY No to Violence Against Women Committee, as well as the World Association of Sexual Health. Thank you so much for considering me for this topic. I don't think I'm an expert, but I think I am one who has been really trying hard to ensure that we communicate well in a relationship. And I've also been learning this process, and I hope I can convey a whole lot of that in this lecture that is going to come up today. My regards to Dr. Jaideep Tang, Dr. Madhuri Patel Madam, and Dr. Elna, the President of WAS. It was such a pleasure listening to her. My regards to the guest of honors for today, Dr. Varsha Baste Madam, as well as Dr. J.M. Kandan Madam. Both have been mentor-like figures for my journey in FOXY. And regards also to Aruna Madam, who happens to be one of the co-conveners along with Jayarani Madam. All the best to Jayarani Madam for all her future endeavors related to FOXY, as well as this World Association on Sexual Health. And best wishes to Kiranmayi, who's already doing a wonderful work as part of the No to Violence Committee. So thank you so much to the chairpersons for the session, Dr. Hepzibah Madam, Dr. Gomati. Such a pleasure to deliver this lecture with you all. I bring greetings from FOXY, led by the vibrant President, Dr. Jaideep Tang, Dr. Madhuri Patel Madam, the first ever Women Secretary General of FOXY, and Dr. Janmeja Mohapatra, my Vice President in charge. I also bring greetings from the Kerala Federation and the Kannur ONG Society, of which I am a part of, a group of almost 130 plus vibrant members doing a whole lot of good work, not just on the academic front, but on the social front too. We have a very important topic on our hands today, that is empowering communication in relationship. So let me just get on with that. Now, I think it shouldn't be a news to such an informed audience like you all that communication is so vital for healthy relationships. By being able to talk openly and honestly with people in your life, it allows you to share, learn, respond, and thereby create long-lasting bonds. This is a vital part of any relationship, including those with your friends and family. And if it happens to be with your partner, I think the importance of which cannot be overemphasized. But it is particularly important in romantic relationship, not just at the beginning when the romance is setting in, but also even after you enter into an institution called marriage and when you enter into a legal partnership with somebody. Now, what is a healthy communication? Now, a little bit on the science behind communication is something which would be very interesting, and it will help you decode the most common errors that we make when you communicate with somebody. The communication model usually involves a sender, who's the person from which the message is originating. On the other hand, there is a receiver to which the message is reaching. And then there is a verbal or a non-verbal message that is being conveyed. Now, the message is created and encoded by the sender. And as you would expect, it is decoded by the receiver. Simple to understand. Remember that it is not just the sender and the receiver that is involved. There is also a feedback. The communication involves a feedback. Yeah. Can you please mute all?
Sahiti, Shripriya, mute all except the speaker.
Shall I continue?
Yes, Shaijas.
Yeah. Now, communication also, other than the message that is being sent from the sender to the receiver, it also includes a feedback, which is the response from the receiver to the particular message he or she has received. There is a noise as well, which is not just the audible noise, but this noise is anything that can disrupt a good communication. Now, encoding would refer to the sender transforming his or her own thoughts into communicable messages. It could be an audible one as a speech, or it could be a text that is sent through the electronic media. Okay, fine. Now, the receiver would interpret this message, what they receive, both the verbal as well as the non-verbal parts. Although this seems pretty much simple, a lot can happen in between, and no message is ever decoded without bias. We'll understand what these kinds of bias are as we go on. Now, the way to decode a message is never an objective reality. There is a whole lot of subjectivity involved. Every individual has his or her own filters and explanatory styles with which we create a picture of the world as we see it. Okay, with filters that filter something which is very commonly found in Insta, where we attempt to modify the image as we would want it to be. So just like that, there is a filter in our communication too, with which we create the picture of the world as we see it. Now, what makes this process of communication even more complex is the fact that the message from the sender is hardly ever just factual information. There is a whole lot more involved, isn't it? It's not just data and facts. As a famous quote says, we speak not only to tell other people what we think, we also speak to tell ourselves what we think. Thus, speech is a part of thought. I hope you would agree that. I repeat, we speak not only to tell other people what we think, but we speak also to tell ourselves what we think. Thus, speech is a part of thought. Fine. Now, it's wonderful to understand four-side model of communication that was actually put forward by Friedman Schulz in the year 1981. According to him, every message or communication model has four facets to it. And the moment you understand these four facets, you can decode any kind of communication, as well as you can decode any kind of errors that happen in a communication with utmost clarity. Now, every message has four facets. Facet number one is the part that contains the fact. What is that which I want to inform you about? That means it could be data, it could be facts, or it could be just some statements. Facet number two is the self-revealing part of a message. What is that about me which I want to reveal myself when I am communicating with you? That is the information about the sender. It's the self-revealing part. Facet number three is the relationship part. It's basically what do I convey through a message about what I think of you? And this relationship facet would depend upon how me and you are getting along with. It just depends on our relationship with each other. So that's a relationship facet. And then comes the appeal. What is that exact thing which I want to make you do when I say something? that is an attempt to influence the receiver from the side of the sender. Okay, so every message would have 4 facets. Just remember this till the end of this lecture, because then you can decode any kind of communication errors. There is an element, there is a facet related to the fact, there is a facet related to the self-revealing part about the sender, there is a facet related to the relationship on how the sender and the receiver are getting along with, and then the appeal. What exactly is that thing which I want to make you do? Okay, that's the appeal part. Now, from the sender, it is never the same emphasis that is put on all these 4 facets together. That means when I actually say something, I might be emphasizing on one of these 4 facets more than the other, though that sentence might actually contain all these 4 facets. Now, emphasis can be meant and understood differently. For instance, when a wife is saying, the sugar jar is empty, maybe it is less about the fact that there is no sugar left in the jar. It is more of a prompt for a husband to go and fill the jar with sugar. I hope you get my point. When she says the sugar jar is empty, she's actually not meaning that there is no sugar left in the jar. It's actually more of a prompt for a husband to go and fill the jar with sugar. Fine. Now that is from the sender. Now from the receiver, it could be perceived very differently. To make it even more complex, as a receiver, we tend to have one of the 4 ears particularly well trained. That means you could have a ear for the fact. You could have a ear which is very specifically trained for the self-revelation fact. You could have a ear which is very much trained for the relationship ear, or you could be very well trained to listen to the appeal that was there in the statement. Fine. So it could be a factual ear, it could be a self-revelation ear, it could be a relationship ear, or an appeal ear that the receiver possesses. And it again can be subjective. So you will hear what you actually want to. So if the husband has a well-trained relationship ear, that means every statement that the wife is making, this fellow is hearing with a predetermined kind of ear, where he would interpret it in a way he wants, or has already made up his mind that he's going to hear it that way only. That means the same sentence of the sugar jar is empty, this husband may decode the sentence to be something like, as if the wife is telling, you are unreliable since you have forgotten to refill the sugar jar. Okay, that means there is a relationship strain that is happening because this person is interpreting it in this particular manner. And he might retort with something like, well, you are unreliable too, because you still haven't cleaned up the mess in the kitchen. Okay, that's how communication can grossly go wrong, because people have decided before itself how they want to hear and interpret a statement. Now, the underlying emphasis of both the sender and the receiver on the 4 facets can thus create a big barrier to healthy communication. It is important to understand what we hear may not actually be what the other person was trying to get across. That means we will have to introspect and think about this. Which one is my best developed ear? And based on that, I will interpret what I am hearing. For instance, whenever your partner or your wife tells you something, do you tend to hear an appeal in every sentence? Appeal was the last part of it. What exactly is that thing which your wife wants you to do? That was the appeal part, just to refresh your memory. Do you tend to hear that appeal in every sentence? Or do you often feel questioned when somebody is talking to you? That means you have a very well-trained, predetermined kind of relationship ear. So every statement that your partner is making, you are thinking that she is questioning the relationship facet of the communication. Fine. Now, in order to engage in a healthy communication, we need to be very well aware of the 4 facets. So the next time you feel questioned, you need to go back to the original statement and think about the 4 facets of that particular statement and ask yourself, how else could you have interpreted that particular message? Is that because of a very well-trained ear that I misinterpreted the message and I reacted abnormally? Focus actually on the actual facts of the message and use questions to clarify whether you understood what the other person is trying to tell you. Now, why it is so important? What is that most important communication skill that you need to develop? Is it your vocabulary or is it the way you talk? What do you think it is? Anybody here? What is the most important communication skill that we need to possess? Jairani madam, are you here?
Tone, the way
we talk.
The
Yeah,
The
yeah.
way we talk.
The way we talk, we present ourselves, the
And
way
the
we want
body
to present
language.
ourselves.
Okay.
That is very important.
Yeah. Now, in a way, I agree to that. But then if you ask me what is the most important communication skill as far as the best of studies that have happened related to this
Polite
particular
way,
aspect
it's
of
a
human
polite and
communication
the
is
polite
none of the above. And it is having all ears to listen.
Okay.
Okay. So if there is no communication in your relationship, maybe neither of the parties are truly listening to each other. Instead, both of them are trying to actually prove a point that they are right, or maybe they are listening while doing something else. So they're just physically there, but not really there. As the legendary Scott Peck said, you cannot truly listen to anyone and do anything else at the same time. A thing which, especially the generation today, with so much of social media and telephones and distractions, in this world that we live in, which is full of distractions, they call it the noise, not just the audible noise, but anything that distracts a good communication. I think we will have to say this every time we are in communication with someone. You just cannot truly listen to anyone and do anything else at the same time. What are the most common mistakes that happen as far as a listener is concerned? I think the girl in the GIF would tell you a fair idea, isn't it? Now, when somebody is listening, they're either daydreaming or maybe thinking of something else. Maybe a wife is preparing the grocery list when the husband is coming out with a very emotional story of something that a very bad event that he went through in the day. Or maybe the listener is thinking what to say next. Many times we face this in our outpatient department also, isn't it? Patients are not listening to us. They're just waiting to ask the next question without even listening whether you could be answering their queries even before they ask. Now, they also could be judging what the other person is saying. That means you already made up your mind and you are creating a judgment about the person who's telling such a thing. Or you are listening with a very specific goal or an outcome in mind. There's an intent for you because of which you are unable to hear what the other person is saying in an unbiased manner. So active listening is much more than not talking. It is actually the art that requires a very genuine interest in the other person. I would bring in two words here. One is, if you are an active listener, you need to listen with curiosity, not with an anticipative mind. Because if you are listening with curiosity, then you actually want to know what the other person wants to say. Now, if you are actually listening with an anticipative mind, you've almost made up your mind what the other person is going to say. That means your interpretation is going to be really biased. So if you are an active listener, or if you want to be an active listener, listen with a curious ear, not with an anticipative mind. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of good communication? I hope you all know that. It can actually minimize rumination. So instead of stewing over some negative feelings that people have, it allows people to discuss their concerns, resolve them in a more positive and effective way. Good communication in relationships, as we all know, would foster intimacy. It reduces and resolves conflicts, right? Now, so what are those best things that can be there if you want to communicate well? One is active listening. As I told, with a curious mind and not an anticipative mind. Whenever there is a communication happening, don't get personal. Because if you don't get personal, then you can probably listen and talk in an unbiased manner. Using I feel like statements in quote. That means rather than telling you never clean up the house, where the relationship here might get stimulated from the other person, you can better tell I feel uncomfortable when there is so much of clutter accumulating around the house. You're basically telling the same thing, but you're telling in two different ways. And the second way is much more comfortable for the receiver. Kindness is so very important in a communication. It makes people feel cared for and understood. Being present. Keep away from the noise. Getting distracted by outside sources, as we already talked about, can lead to a big lacunae in good communication. And showing acceptance. Healthy communication is all about accepting and validating the other person, even if you might not agree with them. So agreeing to disagree is probably the key here. Now, this is a slide which I actually made probably some 4 years back when I was talking about sexual act beyond 40, how to reignite the spark. I could just make out this because I found out that there was a World Association of Sexual Health involved in this. So communication is so very important, not before and after a sexual act, even during a sexual act to happen. Now, a big complaint that most people have about their partners is, especially with men, because they just want the penetrative act to happen and just to finish off the act and just walk away without any communication. For the woman, especially if she might be really struggling with some pain or discomfort during the sexual act, she just closes her eyes and just lets her partner finish the act, and thereby there is absolutely no communication, neither verbal, not even visual. And that's a big put off as far as reigniting the spark, especially when you are into a legal partnership with somebody. Now, all the spark might be there when the romance is setting in, but unfortunately, it tends to fade away a bit later. So communicating even during the act is so very important. Whispering into her ears or whispering into his ears is such an erotic thing, and probably something which every man and woman are looking for in a sexual act, because it creates a very special connection and bonding between couples. So speak to each other even during the act, and discuss what you're getting and what you're not getting from sex. Talk to your partner about what you want him or her to do for you to make your sexual life a little bit more better. Now, think of the other way. Now, what we were talking about is good communication helping to improve the intimacy and bonding in a relationship. If you look at it the other way around, research seems to suggest that your satisfaction with your relationship might predict how well you and your partner can communicate. This is the other way to look at it. So the more satisfied people are in a relationship, the more likely they are to openly talk about their thoughts, feelings, and concerns and problems to one another. So everybody needs to focus on their relationship so that they can communicate better. Everybody needs to focus on their communication so their relationships are better. And when things are not happening well, therapy is so very important, even for a couple who's not communicating well. We have always understood therapy as a way to sort out our mental health issues. But remember that even communication skills and the underlying problems that lead to bad communication can be sorted out with the help of a therapist. He or she helps you to identify unhelpful communication patterns, develop new coping techniques, and practice talking to one another in more effective ways. They also address the underlying resentments or other mental health issues that actually could be there. That could be the one which is be affecting your relationship or your communication, whichever comes earlier than the other. Fine. Now, before I conclude, some take-home messages. As we all understand that effective communication in a relationship allows people to tell other people what they need to and to respond to what their partner needs. It allows people to feel understood, validated, and connected to the other person. Always remember that the goal of communicating is to understand one another, not to just prove a point. It isn't about sweeping problems under the rug in order to prevent all conflicts from happening. Instead, focus on listening to understand and respond with empathy and care. And if you and your partner are struggling with communication issue, consider talking to a therapist for advice if you're not listening to this lecture. Before I leave you, I want to leave you with a quote. Every other quote was from legends, okay? But this quote is from me, myself, okay? Who's somebody who's working on improving communication in the relationships I have. And this is the quote. Talk not to win a conversation, because it's listening that wins it for you. So if men and women in a relationship can become better listeners, I hope you're on the right way to a very intimate and a long-lasting relationship with whoever it is, be it your friends or your family. And to all of you, you have all been patient listeners over the last 20 minutes or so listening to this lecture. So thank you so much for being a wonderful audience.
Thank you, Dr. Shailesh. I think we were listening patiently for you. So we are all become good communicator. You wonderfully taught us about the 4 models of communication, how to send message, how to receive it, what is the benefit of communication. It reduces the conflicts and increases the intimacy, even for everything. And it gives a satisfaction. You wonderfully taught us how to be a good communicator. Thank you so much. And I thank Jairani for the opportunity also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much, madam.
Wonderful
Thank
talk,
you, Shailesh, sir.
So it's really amazing that you really talked about the important part, listening, which many women, we never do it. We want to convey ourselves in either we may be consultants or it may be in the relationship or in the family. We want to first stick onto the talk. So it's all a good thing that you have given us. Listening is very important.
I think probably men will have to listen a little bit more, because that is what I feel personally. I really work on that. I really work on that, because the comparison is almost similar to the 2 gender stereotypes which they created in the book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, women would openly come out and tell their problems, because in Venus, it's a plain ground where people interact with each other. So every time they meet somebody, they actually come out with their problems and talk. And the most important thing is they don't expect an answer to their problems. They expect listening. And unfortunately, men are from Mars who generally love to ruminate on the thoughts and the concerns that they have, because Mars, from where men are, contains some caves, where whenever I have a problem, I'll go and sit in a cave and then ruminate my own thoughts and try to settle it all within myself without talking to anybody about it. I think that reflects the character of most men, and the other thing reflects the character of most women. And generally, when you meet somebody from Venus and they come and tell you their problem, you tend to interrupt them at the first line and you try to give them a solution, which unfortunately is not something which they are asking for. They just want some very good ears so that you can listen to them. And then that itself will settle their problem, because in the process of telling this to another person who's a good listener, they would have sorted out their problem and they would have already got a solution by themselves. So whenever a woman is coming and telling you problems, just have good ears to listen, because they actually don't require your advice unless they insist on you giving them advice.
Yeah, that's wonderful, I think, Shaijas. But again, the book, Women Are From Venus, Men Are From Mars, though it very kind of the general, the behavior patterns of men and women, it does very clearly illustrate or elucidate. But I think we should move away from those stereotypes.
Yeah.
It would be better. I always feel that even parents also have this very stereotypical father and mother figures. So the father has to be mother if necessary, and the mother has to be father if necessary. The more gender neutral and this way we become, it would be much more easier. And as Shaijas said, women and sometimes children also, they come to us not to get solutions. They come to us or we talk because we want to be heard. We want to be, feel emotionally close. Most of the times we don't need solutions. So listening is the best part of communication, as you have said. Wonderful talk.
That's a very important one. Sometimes when you are on talking with your children in person, you may have a lot of stress to talk back. But if you're listening to the phone, you will be even hearing that will give you more communication to talk with him at ease. I feel with my son like that. When I'm with him, it's very difficult for me to talk and convey and to correct. But whereas if I hear him over the phone, he will be telling me more about many things, which I can listen probably. I feel in one way there's a positive aspect about the mobile in communication rather. Thank you, Sajas. It was really an amazing
Thank you. Thank
one.
you so much
And
for all
you
your
have
inputs.
really fulfilled 100% of my satisfaction. That we expected that, and you did it, and it is really marvelous.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Really nice of you. Thank you.
A chairperson, over to chairperson, Dr.
Thank you, Sajas sir. You have told about the active listening, which ensures the deep positive relationship. Now, next we call upon the next speaker, Dr. Nirmala Vijaykumar, consultant in reproductive medicine, Queen's Fertility Center, Tirunelveli. She is an alumni of Tirunelveli Medical College 1992, and she has finished her MD-OG at SRMC at 1998, and she has finished MRC-OG. The leadership role, she is executive member of FOXY and executive member of IMA Tirunelveli, and she has bagged awards and Kennel Cole Award of Safe Motherhood IMA 2022 and Women Internship Award at CA Tuticorin. And her field of interest is assisted reproductive technology, reproductive endocrinology, and rejuvenation science and sexual health. We welcome you, ma'am, to deliver the talk.
Thank you, Dr. Gomadi. It was a very nice introduction. May I share my slide?
Please, ma'am, please.
Is my slide visible?
No.
No, ma'am.
Now your screen,
It's visible, right?
yes. Now it's
Yes.
fine. Make it as a
Yeah.
full screen. Make it as a full. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, fine.
No.
No,
It went off. Yeah.
Visible?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You're right.
Oh. So yes, thank you. And today the topic would be the emotional and physical support to the woman during pregnancy. During pregnancy, I think we need the support of nearly everybody, not just the spouse. But today the topic would be specifically to the spouse. And I'm Dr. Nirmala Vijaykumar. Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on organizing the symposium on World Sexual Health Day. And Jayarani Akka, you always think of me, and I'm really honored to be here. Devyani ma'am, we meet yet again, once again, and I hope to meet you more often this year on this project or that. I'm so excited to work with you. So today, usually the references come at the end. But what I realized is, like, for this topic, when I went through all the literature we have, I was surprised to find that we actually have evidence-based guidelines on what a husband should be like and what kind of support he should provide to his wife during pregnancy and labor. And we have evidence-based guidelines, not just from American Pregnancy Association. We have evidence from American Academy of Pediatricians, which have put together lots of surveys and polls from different pregnant women. We have ones from Nepal. I read an interesting article from Nigeria. And then we have supporting your pregnant partner guidelines from the NHS UK. So that was quite interesting. And of course, regardless of all the guidelines, I am a mother of 2 boys, and my personal wisdom of what I would expect from my spouse and from everybody else during pregnancy always applies. So that is me 24 years earlier, pregnant with my son. There is an urban and a rural divide in the kind of role that husbands provide. Is my screen visible?
No, Nimi. No.
It went off
gone
again.
to the top. Yeah.
Sorry. It just disappears. It disappears if I touch it. It's there, right?
Yes, now it's fine. Yeah, it's now there.
So there's an urban and rural divide in the role of husbands during pregnancy and
You're
labor.
doing from your iPad. No, you're doing from your iPad.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the problem with that. Yeah. Sure.
Sorry, I won't touch the screen unnecessarily. So in Tirunelveli, where I come from, there is a lot of input of not just the spouse, but also the in-laws, the parents especially, and also probably all the elders in the house, even the neighbors and whatnot. Even the servants have something to give some advice to give to the woman who's pregnant. So what to eat, what not, what kind of behavior she should have. There's so much inputs. So what is the role of the spouse in the midst of all this chaos during pregnancy? Most women, whether urban or rural, agree that husbands should be aware of how the pregnancy changes a woman, both physically and mentally, what kind of care that a man should be able to give a woman when she's pregnant, and also some wisdom regarding sex during pregnancy, because that is a cause of a lot of stress and misunderstanding between the couple during pregnancy. So number one, I think most women just want this, some help with the household chores, whether it be lifting something, taking care of the baby that is already there if it's a second pregnancy, dealing with in-laws, maybe the husband could be the mediator to soften interaction, buying things that the woman needs to do. Even folding clothes can be hard when you're pregnant. I still remember when I was pregnant, when we would go shopping, I was in the US at that time, when we would go shopping, my husband would take the trolley off and go somewhere looking at the electronics. And I would have to walk from the milk aisle carrying 2 liters of milk looking for the cart. And I used to be so frustrated. So just a little awareness that it is a little harder to do the usual things, and that even though your wife is young, she might need a little extra support because she's carrying a baby is important. That thought. Make an effort to understand the physiology of pregnancy. Just the other day in my OP, I had a husband who came to me and said, my wife, I'm worried about her because she's always been duty conscious and now she's 2 months pregnant and is throwing up on purpose. What he felt like was she's afraid of putting weight and so she's vomiting. So he goes up on Google, which brings up the topic of bulimia nervosa, and he's like worried that his wife is actually having bulimia. So he basically didn't understand the concept of masaka, the thought that nausea and vomiting is common in pregnancy and that she might be actually suffering and she's not trying to stay slim or and starve his baby. So these kind of thoughts are there. When husbands don't understand what happens in a woman's body, they tend to misinterpret it, and this can come across as being insensitive and can hurt feelings. So these are some of the things dad should not say. Crying too much. Why are you crying so much? You are going to make the baby irritable and you're making a big fuss about nothing. Eat more. It's my baby. It's their baby. So, you have to be sensitive that the woman is not probably able to eat, whether in the first trimester due to nausea or vomiting, or maybe in the last trimester because her abdomen is full of the baby. So getting fat, again, men are obsessed that their women might lose shape. They might, they might not get back to what the perfect figure was before she got pregnant. And these kind of comments are actually insensitive. Getting fat and all can be sorted out later, but when they're pregnant, you have to let them eat whatever they want in peace. My sister was so relaxed, comparing to somebody, a friend, a colleague, a sister, that you're making a big fuss. Pregnancy is a natural process. Why are you making such a big fuss? These are things considered very insensitive and best avoided. Third, accompanying the wife to antenatal visits. So this is a Western norm, but it is becoming an expectation now in our culture too. And I think it is a healthy practice. The common reasons the men don't come to the antenatal clinic with the woman is because it's culturally the mother or the mother-in-law wish to do it. Men consider it embarrassing. So there's male stereotyping here, but as Kiranmai Ma'am said, its gender is fluid, and there's nothing wrong in taking up a different role than what you were used to or trained to. Excuses of work are often there, like my husband is working, so he won't be able to come, so I have to bring my mother. All of these are excuses. Just remember, pregnancy, it's not so common now. Very few couples are going to have 7 or 8 kids, and make it special while it lasts. Number 4. So this is something that is expected now, making a birth plan. So how do you wish your labor to progress? Do you want or do you not want pain relief? And especially in the Western countries, there are concepts of water birth available, maybe an elective C-section if needed or indicated. So these kind of discussions should be made by the couple in question with their doctor day before delivery. And this is something that both of them needs to be in accordance. We have all seen situations where the woman is in labor and we talk about fetal distress and the husband says, no, my wife should have a normal delivery. That is what I want. There's no question of what I want, she wants. What is the best thing to do? And they need to know that they need to be mentally prepared for this during the pregnancy itself, rather than fight it out at the moment when there's either a fetal or maternal distress at the time of labor. So again, this is what I say, be her advocate. Now, a parent or a parent-in-law belong to a different generation, but the husband and wife are in the same generation. So he should be able to understand what she wants and why she wants what she wants. So instead of siding with his side of the family or his elders, he should be her voice. He should be with her and not against her. I think most relationship wellness gurus talk about this. Put the spouse in a couple, the spouses come first. The parents or the children are always the next, but for the husband, the wife is the first priority, and for the wife, the husband is the first priority, and he should be her voice. It's nice when husbands are able to keep track of the progress of the pregnancy. I always like, even in my fertility clinic, when men come up and say her LMP was on 8th September or something like that, I'm like, I understand that, the couple are totally involved and motivated to have this baby, and so be it for pregnancy too. So husbands keeping track of exactly what trimester, when is the next schedule, when did the quickening occur, what was her scan like, and how is she gaining weight properly, is she having fetal ladybug? Just keep track of progress, talk to her, did she feel the baby move? Talking about the pregnancy increases a lot of bonding, taking photographs, and recording those cute moments is actually the most important work of a husband, in my opinion, because I have married a husband who's a good photographer, and I think that adds a lot of value to the relationship. And to keep track of progress of the pregnancy, it adds to the bonding. Sexual intimacy. So men, you need to be aware, men and women actually, need to be aware that during pregnancy, the sexual desire changes. And it is perfectly safe when the pregnancy is healthy. When penetrative sexual intercourse is had in the later part of the pregnancy, it can induce uterine contractions and Braxton Hicks contraction. So there are other ways of intimacy like touching, cuddling, mutual masturbation. So there are other ways in which you can get sexual pleasure without a penetrative sexual intercourse. Condom is recommended, and because it reduces the infection risk, and the doctor will usually advise no sex in the any event that increases the risk of preterm labor, like a low-lying placenta, multiple pregnancy, ruptured membranes, etc. So this is something that the husband needs to know, that sexual sex might not be comfortable if she demands more sex or less sex. All these changes do happen, and each couple is different. The process of labor. So once the woman gets into labor and having the baby, the husband is the one who has to be with her and meticulously note, and they're creating memories, and he's the ultimate documenter. So the NHS gives these tips to the spouse about how the husband can support his wife during labor when she's actually having her contractions. So first thing is keep company. Labor is a long process, and the more the time flies, the time flies more smoothly when the husband and wife are together and there is some good company, they're listening to music, talking about this and that, making plans about the baby. The time flies, there's less stress, and you're not too worried about what is going to happen. So it just relaxes. Conversation can relax, and as Dr. Shaiju beautifully mentioned, he can listen about all her anxiety, her pain, and what she's experiencing. Sips of water to keep us hydrated. Shoulders and back massages during the first stage of labor, breathing and relaxation. So most normal labors, they have this midwife-led care in Western countries, and it's allowed to progress throughout till she goes into active labor. And if she is having some kind of distress, either she broke her waters or she has some sort of bleeding or some distress, it is the husband who has to communicate with the doctor and explain the lady's situation. And here are some don'ts during labor. So don't come up with your own medications, some sort of aromatherapy, or don't go rubbing some lotions on her abdomen without any medical intervention, without the doctor's knowledge, please. And again, we have so many YouTube ideas on how to conduct a normal labor. So it is absolutely nonsense if the husband decides that this is the time the woman has to start pushing and she will have a normal labor. But all these things have happened all over the world, and that is why there is a whole practical guidelines about what not to do. Implement YouTube techniques. We already have several problems about maternal deaths when there was a home delivery conducted by the husband. So over enthusiasm is an absolute no. Confining the partner to bed, not letting her walk. And here's one, dressing inappropriately. So I have personally experienced this kind of problem. So when I was a senior house officer in Nuneaton, United Kingdom, we had this part where we had water births. And in water births, then the woman gives birth in a pool of water. But the problem was the husband also decided to get in, and he was absolutely naked. And I had to say it was pretty distressing and embarrassing for us medical professionals. So these can be problems, and maybe in India we'll face these kind of problems soon. So dressing inappropriately is absolute no, and disobeying orders of the medical personnel, exactly. So never do that. And how do you support your wife when trying to get pregnant? We talked about pregnancy, we talked about labor, but what if you're infertile? There too, the spouse has a very important role. As a fertility specialist, this is something I'm talking from experience. So first thing is, both husband and wife, quit smoking and drinking. You're trying to get pregnant, so talk about it. I think the woman and the man needs to talk about quitting smoking and drinking. Women drink a lot too, so stopping a habit always works better when you do it as a couple. Aim to be the healthy couple with the right body mass index. You're trying to have a baby, lose weight, and both the couple should do it together. Protect her against criticism, because the in-laws, the friends, our own family can be very critical. And it's not just her, it's him. As a couple, they just have to stay close and protect each other against criticism. Never play the blame game. You hear it all the time. Oh, I'm a man. Nothing should be wrong with me. You go see the doctor and, sort it out. So visit the fertility clinic as a couple. Infertility should be held as a couple. It takes a man and a woman to create a baby, and the man should be aware of that. Talk about sex and frustrations. Performing like a captive animal in the zoo and trying to conceive is not easy. So when we have time sexual intercourse or masturbation in the clinic upstairs, it's frustrating, and your spouse needs to know what you're undergoing. No need for a man to be so stoic and stereotype and say, I can deal with it. And what happens is, when they have difficulty in masturbation or sex, they avoid the fertility treatment altogether. So the wife has a right to know, and it should be spoken to, with the ear for listening, as we heard in the last talk. And maintain confidentiality. This applies to, again, both the husband and the wife, whether it's a tubal problem or an azoospermia, whatever it is, deal with it as a spouse, as a couple, not as a whole extended family, because confidentiality strengthens the relationship, and it's important to avoid the blame game and reduce the stress during a fertility treatment. So I thank you all, and I thank my spouse also, because I just realized he's not been that bad during supporting me during the pregnancies. And thank you everybody for this patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nirmala Vijay Shankar. It was a very good talk about how the emotional and physical support by the partner. Actually, for every successful relationship, there should be proper communication and great listening and the compromise and commitment. There are many ways that the partner can support us, like being a physical coach or emotional well-being, just listening without judgment, and just to accompany reading books, antenatal classes, and they can be a best stress relief than anyone else. Okay, they can the simple massages they give, that will be boostful, and that will relieve all the pains the patient complains. So whenever they turn up to the antenatal clinic, it's better. In infertility clinic only, we have the counseling sessions for the couples. But I wish that in antenatal clinics also, the husband should be called, and we should be telling them the role of partner support. Because most of the time he is working, he is busy, he has gone to the office. I came alone. I came with even though the in-law or the parents support, the role of husband, it should be emphasized. So it should be like, we should call them for a proper counseling session and tell them about the spaces. We need some spaces also, actually, and we need to support at each and every activities. So whatever the thing, whatever the benefits, what this causes is a healthy labor, normal, whether it is a vaginal or cesarean, a healthy baby and a healthy mother, and it reduces the postpartum depression and the postpartum blues also, and it strengthens the relationships between the husband and the wife in taking care of after delivery, and it reduces the stress and fear of their lifelong journey. So thank you very much. It was a very nice talk.
Thank you, Dr. Gomati.
So thank you, Nimi, for that wonderful talk, which is really a interesting one. I hope you recollected all your memories of your pregnancy.
Yes, I did.
And a really great appreciation to realize in the midlife about the husband's part in the first pregnancy,
Yeah.
which you missed earlier. I think you would have
Exactly.
rejuvenated your relationship with your husband in this aspect. I'm very
Thank you, ma'am,
happy
for
that I made you do that. So she
Exactly,
was telling me that I don't do obstetrics, madam. I said it's better, it's not obstetrics, it's a general way. So it's nice that you come out with a very beautiful things and a beautiful picture of yours. It's so nice and amazing. Thank you so much for taking up this topic and doing a very good justice for the topic. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to the next session. Can I have the CV of the next chairpersons? We are now moving to the second part of this webinar. We have the second session. I have the great privilege, honor, and I'm very happy to introduce Dr. R. Premlata Madam, who is the past president of our OXY 2022. She's the present vice president of Chennai Menopause Society 2023 and 25. And the madam is the life member of ISOB IAG. And she's the consultant head of the Department of OBGYN Mehta Hospital, Chetpat, Chennai. And she's the retired director in charge of IOG, Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology of the MMC. And she has authored books of undergraduate manual of clinical cases in obstetrics and gynecology. And she's the proud recipient of Lifetime Achievement Award by MGR Medical University 2012. Let's all welcome Madam to chair this session.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we have one another chairperson here, a very dynamic and young Jayashree, whom I met. It's very lovely to talk with her. She's so dynamic with her passionate feminism and also about for the women's sexuality. And I'm really love to have her in this forum. She's the present consultant of the Quality Cure Ladies Specialty Clinic in West Mamalam, Chennai. She is a medical writer and a motivational speaker, and she has given interviews in all leading Tamil news channels for the Corona awareness programs. And she has written articles in many leading magazines. And she has received many awards during Corona for the service, including one from the Chennai Corporation. And she has been a mastermind behind a very interesting part, that is the MBBS curriculum obstetric books translation into Tamil by the government of Tamil Nadu. It is really amazing that she is having a very good knowledge in Tamil, as well as she has conducted very many Quality Cure YouTube channel, Insta, Facebook pages. Very nice, interesting CV that I look upon. I am very grateful to have you here, Jayashree. We welcome you, and over to the chairpersons for the next session.
Thank you, Dr. Jayarani, for really inviting us to be part of this webinar on World Sexual Health Day. I'm really very happy to be a part of it, and I'm happy to call Dr. Jamuna Devi ma'am. Actually, I have been associated with her, and she was very much actively participated. I mean, as a she was in ASUOG 2024 January in Hyderabad. She was a keen person in organizing the conference. She's the president of the Hyderabad Society 2015 to 2016, joint secretary of TCOG, APCOG, and joint secretary of ACGOG 2011. She had served Obstetric Gynecology Society of Hyderabad as vice president, secretary, treasurer, joint secretary.
I think
various
that's okay, Premlata.
Yeah, madam. She has various
Thank you.
presentations in domestic
Yeah,
violence. And she
think
has been very
we-
much interested in all this medico-legal thing, law graduate from Uspania University and graduation. And I'm really happy she is going to talk about on the facts about the reproductive and sexual medicine, sexual health
I
openly
think,
with the discussion with openly
yes,
with partner.
yeah,
Over to
yeah.
Madam
Dr.
Thank
Jamuna
you,
Devi.
Premlata. We met in Indian Menopause conference.
Yeah.
So we were there with you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jairani, for inviting. And actually, you know what? When she gave me this topic, I had to really understand and read about it, because we come across patients day in, day out with their sexual problems. And because we are the first point of contact, and then we
Yamuna
need
ma'am.
help. Yeah.
Ma'am, your volume is bit less.
Volume is
Come
less.
closer to the system, madam.
Yeah, I'm very
Coming
close
little
to the
low,
system. Yeah. So anyway, I think
now
without
it's
much,
better.
okay, without much delay, I think I should thank Jairani for giving me this opportunity. And I had to learn a lot and read a lot, and to come to this presentation. So I'll be taking you through this sexual and reproductive health impact on how in a relationship, then what are the factors which influence the sexuality and communication. We have heard so well with Dr. Shaijas has told us. Then the environment, how we can create a safe environment for the woman to communicate to us about her problems, and what are the dialogues we need to speak to the clients, and what are these 5 P's and some cases. So as you all agree with me that importance of sexual health in intimate relationship is plays a vital role. And most importantly, role of communication and mutual understanding, that is also equally very important. And how these sexual dysfunctions impact the relationship dynamics. So what are the common sexual issues in relationship? So we come across this hypoactive sexual desire disorders. The commonest cause is hormonal changes, the stress, relationship is impacted, and leads to frustration and lack of intimacy and resentment. Then now, because of this infertility, some male partners do come to us with this erectile dysfunction issues also. And this is related to physiological factors, maybe cardiovascular issues, diabetes, aging, and other. Most important and the commonest what we come across is anxiety, depression, and performance pressures. Then a lot of women are coming to our OPDs openly now, complaining about these painful coitus, vaginismus, and dyspareunia. And the causes may be because of fear, or there is always, when we take a good history with these women, we come across there must have been a trauma or an assault. And this fear and frustration can lead to insufficient lubrication, as we all know, and there may be some infections. And the relationships, when they are impacted because of avoidance of sexual intimacy, because of all these factors, and it creates an emotional distance more and more. And now we see that men coming with premature ejaculation, which is commonly due to stress, anxiety, and lack of control over ejaculation. And this affects both the partners, and they are frustrated and dissatisfied, and they don't know what to do. And now we come across, actually, even I have come across, some women coming to me saying that they do not have orgasm, and they have difficulty in achieving that. So it may be a misinformation, or there may be a lack of stimulation, because as Shai just said that just, sometimes male partners just want to finish off that process, that's all, without any stimulation, and the woman just laying down with pain and all those things and never bothers. That may be one issue. Then psychological impact. We come across this psychological impact is so much among girls and women, which causes decreased confidence and at the same time increases the tension also. And this sexual dysfunctions with physiological causes like hormonal imbalance, we see that in midlife crisis, especially in perimenopausal age, because of decreased estrogen, we see that there is vaginal dryness, and because of this, the interest will be less and there is decreased libido also. And at the same time, in men, there is andropause with decreased testosterone, and this will lead to low libido. And not only that, in medical conditions also, we see that there is dysfunction, especially in diabetics, and person suffering from cardiovascular diseases, either they are stressed out or their medication also affects. And neurological disorders, we all know that some of them do affect sexual health. And medication, as you all know, antidepressants, antihypertensives do affect sexual functions. Then physiological and emotional factors. These are the, I think, two most important ones. So we see a lot of women and men suffering from depression, anxiety, which has a great impact on sexual desire and performance anxiety disorders. And this leads to avoidance of sexual activities. And body images, we see that post-pregnancy especially, we do come across girls when after pregnancy, especially when they have normal deliveries and the episiotomy wound, they're worried about their episiotomy sutures. Maybe if it is, even if it is past 6 months or 1 year, still they have that fear that if they go in for physical intimacy, then their sutures might disrupt or there may be some problem. And aging is one factor which also they feel that they are not fit for it, or this is not the age to enjoy all these things. And coming to surgeries, they have a big impact on self-esteem and desire. We know that a lot of surgeries like mastectomies, nowadays younger group also affected with the various issues, breast issues, and mastectomies are done. And this also has an impact, and even prostate also. Then stress, job. Now we see that MNCs, lot of these women and men who are working in shift system in MNCs, when we talk to them, when they come to us, especially when they're planning for a pregnancy and they're very anxious to for pregnancy, and then we take a history, they say that both are working almost 10 to 12 hours, and when they come back home, they are tired and they don't have energy to have a sexual intercourse. And in fact, family burden also do have effect on the performance. And I have come across so many couples wherein the male person will say that I have some commitments. I have my father not well or mother not well. I have to do all these commitments. So his priority has become family commitment rather than his family life or sexual life. And if the woman is also interested, still she has to compromise with these issues. And we all know that life is full of stress, which is leading to decreased interest in sexual intimacy and sexual trauma. Yes, history of abuse and assault always is there when you really take a history in women who have dyspareunia or restlessness or a fear or, in these cases, if you talk to them, there is a history of these and which affects their sexual trust and openness. So factors which influences sexuality, culture. Yes, culture does have the dress, rule of marriage. We do come across even today when a girl is not consummating or due to fear or pain, she's not able to have a sexual activity with her husband, it becomes an issue in the family. The in-laws will start complaining and they will tell the mother, parents of that girl, that your daughter is not at all cooperative what is so great, problem about it? This is all we have managed and we have been going through it. So there is nothing wrong. Why is she behaving like that? So the mother, instead of finding what is the reason for such a issue, she will also start telling the daughter, no, this is all right. Pain will be there, bleeding will be there. You have to compromise. You have to make your husband happy. That is, norm of, you cannot say that it is not possible. This is what's still happening. Then role of behavior. Sometimes the men take over that power, and this power becomes a problem for the women, to follow it. Then religious values and guidelines. Even now, during some auspicious months of in a year, the women, the man and the woman have to be separated. They are not supposed to have intercourse during these auspicious days. And this rule is laid by the family members. Then personal ethics, unwritten code of conducts, where men and women do have. Some women, we come across even women who say that, no, I don't want to have an intercourse now. I don't want to have children. I don't want any pregnancy. These unwritten code of conduct also do affect. Then health status, pregnancy and menstruation. Already Nirmala has told during pregnancy what all the things happen, and during menstruation also it is still a thing that they should not have intercourse, or they should not come together, and they should be careful about these things. Then what are the other problems which interfere? Like we have already said, that medications, then sexually transmitted diseases, fear of transmission. This is very, very common. Even now, I come across some women who are coming to me saying that I had a sexual intercourse, but I'm worried about the infections. So how do you investigate whether I had the infection or not? So that fear is still there. Then chronic pain or joint diseases, they also decrease the motivation. Especially we see chronic pain in endometriosis, and we see in such cases there is dyspareunia. Then surgeries, of course, mastectomy and prostatectomy affect, and they are the causes of sexual dysfunction. Then what are the relationship dynamics and sexual satisfaction? It is always lack of communication. As we have listened to the communication, the couples do not discuss sexual performances and issues. If they find fault with one partner, the other will just keep quiet. So as we learned today that listening is important, and trying to solve the problems if there are any. Then power imbalance, control and coercion. I have come across some male partners. The woman comes and complains that every alternate days he wants that sexual intercourse, but I'm not ready for it, but he never listens to me. So this control and coercion also affect the impact on the relationship, and it may lead to resentment. Then infidelity, how betrayal impacts sexual health. We come across, I think all of you must have come across in your OPDs about this, and health intimacy and trust. So unresolved conflicts also. Nowadays we see a lot of divorces happening, or they're planning to be divorced. So unresolved, these conflicts also causes emotional disconnect, and this will affect the sexual desire. So what are the therapies and treatments? So we have medical interventions like in perimenopausal age, if it is because or premature ovarian failure, we can always treat with hormone replacement therapies, and we have vaginal lubricants, erectile dysfunction medications, and we can suggest psychotherapy and counseling, which is very important. And we do come across this cognitive behavioral therapy, couples therapy, sex therapy. Now we have all these therapies available. So only thing is we need to identify them and advise. And post-delivery or in vaginal laxity, where women complain of, we can suggest exercises and physical therapy also. And of course, for vaginismus and dyspareunia, we have various therapies. Then the most and important aspect is life adjustments, stress reduction. This is one of the things which I think most of them have, and they have to learn how to reduce. And healthy diet, exercise, and mindfulness practices. So cultural and societal influences. Yes, there are a lot of sexual myths and misconceptions. Now here I would like to share a story with you all. One of my client who came to me, she's 32-year-old, married for 2 years, but she's not, there is no consummation because she has a fear. So she came up to me for, checkup, but then she didn't allow me to examine. So I had to really talk to her and asked her. So she said, I want my husband to be, sit outside, and then I would like to share my issues. So what she shared me is she was brought up by her grandmother, and her grandmother used to tell her that, sexual intercourse and all these things are sin and they are not good for the girl, and you should never go to a man. Probably she was talking about, she should be protected from assault or whatever, but that led to her, in her mind, it stayed there that even after marriage, it was not going out from her mind, and she was resenting about that. And she told me that this was the issue. She told me, although she is now learned about it, that it is not a thing, it is one emotional act, and it is one of the systems in our body, reproductive system, and it is nothing wrong, but still she could not come out of it. So these misconceptions are so ingrained in the minds of people that when they hear it for a long time, then religious and cultural taboos, that impact of upbringing and societal norms on sexual openness and satisfaction. These are the things I think still in our families, they are not talked about. Even grandparents do not do not discuss openly, but whatever knowledge they get from the Google, and whatever they think is right, they follow it. But exactly what is right for them is never, they never know. And I think here our role is very important to make them understand what is the right thing for them. Pornography and unrealistic expectations. And here I would like to share one story. One of our patients was operated for dermoid cyst, and after surgery, she was so worried. And one day she told me that I don't want my mother-in-law or my husband in the room, but I want to talk to you because some issue. So I said, okay, fine. I told them, I will examine her. Please, you sit out. So while examining, she asked me, does the semen in the mouth, if it is gone, does this is the one problem which has caused my ovarian cyst? So I said, why do you think like that? So she said, yes, my husband does oral sex. So this is, and they hail from a district. So probably he's, this pornography must have impacted him to do all this, though it is not a natural thing, but he has experimented with her and she feels that it is unnatural, unrealistic. So what is our role? So we have to initiate conversation. This is very important. And every patient who come to us, we can take as an opportunity to find and discuss about our sexual issues. And if we find any, then we should screen for sexual dysfunctions. And we should learn to ask questions during our routine examination. And always we can refer to a specialist if needed, like urologist, sex therapist, or psychologist, or counselors. So what are the dialogue with the patient we should need to ask? So we can ask, may I ask you a few questions about your sexual health or sexual practices? But this, if they are, not embarrassed, and if they are okay, then if these questions are not personal, and we should explain to them that these is very important for overall health. And we should encourage each partner to express their feelings and concerns. And we should listen without interruption. So this allows both sides to understand the impact of sexual and reproductive health issues, how it helps in the relationship. So we should ask whether these questions to, what I do is I ask to all my patients, whether whatever may be the age. Now we see a lot of youngsters also into physical activities, and we see a lot of live-in relations, so married, unmarried, or young, even youngsters also, even schools also, I do ask. So we can ask them, do you have any questions or concerns about your sexual health? I think this question we can put it. Now coming to what are those 5 Ps which helps and guides us to dialogue with our patients. And these may be useful, and that is partners. We should ask the partners. And what, because if they're living in relations, what type of partners, whether their behavior pattern, or they are, drug addicts, or they are having any infection. No, we have to take the history of the partners and what is the practices, what sexual practices they follow, then whether they are protected from STIs, or if there is any past history of the STI in any of the partners, and if there is any pregnancy intention. So if a patient had a sex in the past and now they say that, no, I'm not having any more, but still it is very important to take that sexual history. And we should give medical information and education as far as possible. And we always should encourage partners to attend medical appointments together, like Nirmala said, for pregnancy, but I think for everything we should encourage them to attend. Then we have to address emotional and psychological factors. And you consider including mental health professionals if there is a demand or situation warrants. So these are the case studies, just these are real studies, not anonymous, but she's 48 years and her husband is 52 years, and she walked into my OPD and she said, I think I'm suspicious of getting infection from him. So I said, okay, what is, then I took a history and all those things, and then I examined her, and then I explained to her, counseled her that we can find out if there are any infections. So I wrote some tests and all these things. Once the report comes, if there is infection, I'll let you know. If there are no infections, I'll say, we'll see. Then next day, her husband comes to me. So he says that she got a feeling that because he's a diabetic and he had some infection. So she thinks that she will get infection because he had infection. So sometimes these cases, such incidences do come across, and then we need to give education and resolve their problems. Otherwise, this will affect their relationship. Then I have come across a young woman who had multiple partners, and she is in living relation, and all of them were for short time, maybe 6 months or 4 months or 1 year or so. But her concern was that some of them had dissatisfaction. And she also said that I don't have orgasm when I have. So I sat and counseled her and examined her and made her understand that everything is all right. And then explained to her about the infections of the STIs and how she should take care. All these things I have explained to her. Then we had one 18-year-old girl who came to my OPD with complaint of white discharge only. But then when I said, okay, will you allow me to examine? She said, okay, yes. Then when I examined, then her vagina was very angry looking and with a lot of, erosions and all those things. Then I counseled her, and with a lot of effort, I could elicit that she was sexually active. So these are the things, and she was only 18 years. So I had to explain to her, I can't tell that you should not be sexually active because she's not going to listen to me, but at least I can tell her that what protection she should take and how she should be protecting from infections. So sometimes these cases do come, and we do come across a married couple also having issues, getting pregnant, and they don't have time to have intercourse because they are too busy with their jobs and other works. And I would like to share one more story wherein one girl who was educated and she was working in a laboratory, and she had one child, and father-in-law was the only person in the family. Husband, she and father-in-law were there, and her father-in-law was very insecure about his health. So he used to insist that they should share the room with a curtain in between. So she always used to tell me, I want a second child, madam, but how to do? Because my father-in-law is always there. I can't do it, madam. So these situations, and I was just wondering that what could be their, impact on their sexual health. So what I would suggest is that we emphasize the importance of open communication and seeking help. And we all should be proactive in addressing sexual health in consultation, because a decade back, I was very embarrassed to talk about sexual health with the partners. But now I think it is important. Then we should give solutions which are encouraging, and we should, our conversation should be oriented, and it should be always positive reinforcement. And we need to set boundaries and respect their privacy. And whenever necessary, professionals should be involved. And by fostering an environment of mutual respect, the impact on relationship would be positive. So we all need to understand and support. Partners can work together, navigate and sexual and reproductive health challenges, and strengthen their relationship. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Hope I have done justice to this.
Thank you, madam. You have elaborately taken us through all the causes for sexual health and causing a discrepancy within the family and the partners, how to come how to cross all these things. And you elaborately told about the physical, psychological causes and the thing. And really, it is very informative that how to talk to the patients in our clinic, the questionnaire, dialogue with the patients, so that we also do justice to them about each and every woman who are coming to us regarding the sexual health, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jayashree, you can put it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. It's a wonderful opportunity to be with you in this evening, this session of positive relationships. Actually, I feel the positive relationship starts with the positive communication, as Dr. Saijus excellently he mentioned that. And thanks, Dr. Jayarani ma'am, for this wonderful opportunity, and all the chairpersons. And I'm so happy I'm sharing the chairing of this session with Dr. Premlata ma'am. And can you just put the CV of the next speaker? Wow. Actually, ma'am is the one who is introducing everyone. And how I am going to introduce ma'am?
With all open heart.
Actually, just a little bit formal. She's MD-DGO, and she's one of the leading infertility consultants in Chennai. I can say, I can have the authenticity to say in Tamil Nadu, she's one of the leading consultants, and we hear a lot about Akash Fertility Center, not from anybody else, from the patients. Many patients, they do appreciate. Even one of my relative recently, 2 months before, she got treatment from ma'am, and she delivered also with ma'am only. She even didn't come to me to delivery. So that much she is having a positive relationship with the patients. That's what I want to say. So that's a communication, the way she communicates and the way she consoles the patient and keeps them comfortable. That's more than important, because in IVF treatment, the patient really undergoes a roller coaster journey. So in that, the consultant is always traveling with the patient. Which consultant is traveling with the patient and keeping the patient well informed of the positive and negative sides of the treatment, and if they are positive, and helping them till they deliver. And that is the final thing in IVF, to get the baby, take home baby. So Madam is incomparable in that, and she is a good orator also. I can see a lot of her interviews in the magazines and in TV and everywhere. So stage is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you for the introduction, and a very special thanks for your compliments on the positive relationship with the patients, which everybody has here, because all the doyens have come out with so much of positivity with the communication related to the patients. Thank you so much. And a very special thanks to all the senior faculties here, to Kiran, for all the speakers, everybody who has joined here, because it is one of the interesting moments in my life to have a webinar on the World Sexual Health Day celebrations. Can I share my screen? So far, we were all listening to the positive. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You just slideshow, ma'am.
Is it okay?
No, ma'am.
Not it?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
So far we have seen all about the positivity of the positive relationship, but we have to understand that there is one point of condition in the relationship is the abuse and the violence. Because many a times we look into the positivity, because a couple will be very happily having either a partnership or planning to get married, or recently married, or living for years and years together. But inside, if you talk with them, many of them, one group will be feeling that they are very happy about the relationship, but definitely most of the relationship after 30 years, after 50 years, they are back into divorces. It's mainly because of the silent relationship violences which is happening inside their relationship. Violences, which need not be a physical violence. It is more an emotional and more like a sexual violence, which are very common in many of the relationships. That's why, if you look at the diverse data, many of the relationship breaks because of their self-respect not being treated properly, not being given proper space in their personal life, not being given a equality in their life. And after 30 years of the married life, they get divorces, mainly because of a lot of humiliation they get in their partnered life. Though it may not be obvious outside, but still, there is very much prevalent among many of the married couples and many of the couples in relationship, both in West and also in our part of the country. So violence in relationship is definitely very common among the couple or among the partners. And it ranges up to around 1 in 3 women worldwide experience of physical or sexual violence, mostly by their intimate partner. The partner they love, they marry, they get their babies, they live for a happy life, but still they have been exposed to a violence, which even an emotional violence, which is very importantly seen among many of the relationships. So violence against women and girls is really a human right violations, and the immediate and the long-term physical and the sexual and the mental consequence for the women and the girls will be really devastating. Even sometimes it may even cause a death. And violence definitely affects a women's well-being negatively, and also prevent women from fully participating in the society. It impacts their family, their community, and even the country at the large. And definitely it extends a lot of expenses related to the healthcare and productivity. So it's not only the violence that happens, it's the abuse. The abuse is the one which initiates this violence. The abuse could be a physical or a verbal or an emotional or a sexual or a financial or even a spiritual and technological. Because if you look at the couple, many of the people, even the educated people who are equally qualified, equally working, even a corporate people, they have a lot of emotional abuse among the couples. That's a very common thing among the highly educated, highly placed couple. The physical and the other type of verbal, which is very common in the low group people, which is very obviously seen outside. But this type of an emotional and sexual abuse, which is quite prevalent among the educated couple, is really very subtle, and sometimes it may not be even sensed by others. But when a couple get into a relationship, they should know really when this violence begins, or when this start of this abuse begins, which should make them a red flag to make either a corrective process of this relationship, or to come out of the relationship, or try to mend and intervene in this. This is a very important one. So this abuse, which is a behavior abuse, when it's left alone without an intervention, it may become very worse. And relationship abuse, it is not just an argument everyone see there. We often see couples argue, they may fight, or having some serious disagreement, but it is not that type of relationship abuse also. It happens repeatedly. This behavior among the couples happen repeatedly. Because when you see a couple, they may fight and they may reconcile. And if they fight again and again because of something which is not a comfortable, conducive one, that says that it is a violence initiative in the relationship. So occasional happening arguments are acceptable. But if the behavior repeatedly happening among the couples over a time, we then call this as an abuse. So if you look into the data, 1 in 3 women and even 1 in 4 men experience this abuse in the relationship. And 57% of the people who are affected report it's very difficult to identify the violence in relationship, because many times the couples comes at the end. They may suffer through this. They may not even know how to sense this, what it is getting into the relationship. It's very complex, because they may feel the husbands are loving them, they are very caring them, they are always behind them, texting them, but it is some way of entering into their personal way, which makes them go through a emotional suffering. And sometimes that gets them detached from the friendship, from the other friends they like, and that will lead on to some sort of a emotional violence, which is definitely have an impact in their relationship. So that is a very important part, especially in the relationship violence. It is not the abuse, and it is not the physical, it is more of an emotional abuse. So this domestic violence as well as the relationship violence, it is very difficult to identify. And sometimes it is impossible to sense in the early beginning. And sometimes it is very difficult for even the closest people to realize, because in the same house, the parents will be there, the in-laws will be there. There will be a lot of problems among the couple, which may not be sincerely, they will not be seen outside. They'll be showing them that they're very happy. But when you look into the deeper aspect of their relationship, there will be some sort of a stress, which might be not be very easy for us to identify. So there are some identifying signs in this violence, which we should really know. When you are, you may be a mother, you may be a grandmother, you may be a mother-in-law, you may be your sister, you may be your anybody in the closest friends of the couple. But identifying the earliest signs is very important, which may prevent the escalation of this violence, which may even lead on, if you left alone without proper care and counseling, which may lead on to a lot of issue among the couple. So the abuse cycle usually begins, it may be a verbal or an emotional or a physical abuse, and that may be even an anger, blaming one another, arguing, threats, and imitation among the couple. This causes an increase in the tension, they break down in the communication, and then they become very fearful. The victim, the one will be the victim, usually the women will be the victim, and she'll become very fearful and feels the need to play the where to do, what to do, how to go about the abuser. They may not know. But sometimes in the relationship, they reconcile. The abuser, they try to apologize, give excuses, and sometimes they blame the victim that they are the cause for this abuse. And even sometimes they deny the abuse, because many of the movies we see lot of examples of this type of abuses which happens, and I can quote many movies where they have all these type of abuse happening in the relationship. And many a times the abuser, they themselves forgot about what has happened, and they never take it for granted. They take it for granted that abuse is a very casual part of the life, and they have the women as a female partner, especially in the patriarchal society. We are almost subjected to very many abuses like this, which has to be taken for granted. That very many women, they never realize, they accept it and they live with that. And that causes a lot of problem in the women's emotional and also in the psychological health. And very many times the initial relationship, it's always very much, when they start the relationship among the partners, they feel very happy about it. The relationship and always the partners focus within each other. They always have a natural way of pulling their daily routines, even, and that causes them more towards the partners. And they even go away from the friends, go from the routine. They're always focused on the partner. And many times it may look very nice. Oh, your partner is taking care of you so nicely. He's so possessive. He's so much taking care. But deep underneath, it is always a feel of lot of stress in the relationship, which may in future, it may lead to a lot of abuse and violence, which is always forms a red flags, which should be a very important one to identify. So let's see what are the key signs of an abuse relationship. Many times the partners, they may not know, they're difficult to understand. Is there a violence? Is it a violent behavior of my husband? He is so lovable to me. He loves me more. That's why he is always constantly taking care of me, looking whatever I'm doing, getting into my email, getting into my things. It's not that he's so much caring with me. That's what the women feels. But it is not so. Your violent partner may act lovingly towards you. At other times, he may feel sorry also for it. But sometimes they may accept the horrible behavior and they try to reconcile. But very many times, their behavior, if it is repeatedly happening again and again, has to be you have to be very careful when you have to understand that this is an abuse that is happening. So usually the abusers can be incredibly charming people, especially if they're trying to make you and others to see them in a good light. They always behave like that in a public, in a common place. But in your personal, when you're in the personal way, there may be a lot of abuses which may happen. So secondly, you may feel that it may be getting better, but that didn't mean to hurt me. That's what many of the women says. I feel that one day he's like this, the other day he's very much, happy with me, and he always want to make me happy. I feel that it is something that he has going through some stress, but ultimately it is an abuse that is happening in their relationship. So usually what happens after a violent episode, it's very common for both of the couple and the abuser and the victim to try to downplay, especially the abuser downplay what happened with excuses, apologize and promises and telling her to change, and even everything they may feel very much embarrassed. And many times the victim feels, okay, he's good, I'm only mistaken him, and I feel really, I felt very much sorry for him, what actually happened, and they also try to reconcile. But this might be settling down for a bit, but it often a matter, over a time of period, this abuse happens again and again. It is very difficult to completely get rid of this abuse. It may end in a physical abuse in relationship and sometimes in an abusive behavior. And when it reaches that level, definitely professional help is mandatory, especially in the relationship. And other signs, maybe it is my fault. That is what the victim feels. Oh, I have been the cause. So the victim may begin to think that I'm the one to blame for his or the partner's abusive behavior, because they make you feel that way. An abuser always make excuse in their behavior by saying something like, it wouldn't have been happened if you haven't done this, if you would have done this way, if you would have acted this way, if you would have dressed this way, I would not have scolded you, I would not have commented you, the way they dress, the way they talk with others, the way they behave. This is what they try to find fault with you, and ultimately blames you for the abuses that is happening. The truth is that no matter what you do, another person's abusive behavior is never your fault. So many times they always feel that I'm scared of what will happen if I leave him. That is what the women feels. It is not usual to feel afraid or leaving your abuser. You might feel unsafe or scared, but of what the person might do to you or themselves. You might also feel that you're not capable of making it on your own without them. That's a very important one. And many times it is important to remember that there are people who can help them in every step of the way. So in some abusive relationship, it's so confusing. That's what the victim says. I'm sure it is on and off. They cannot even believe that. But these are all something that you should sense that it is one way of abuses. So if anyone who is experiencing an abuse, things can feel really confusing, especially if it is a first relationship or it's the first time your partner has shown some abusive behavior towards you. But you might not be sure what to expect next, how to behave that, how to correct it. Sometimes it's very difficult. Abusers often try to influence your sense of what is real, and it's what they make you feel confused, or even they make you go crazy. Sometimes that's happened especially in the partner's relationship. This is what they call as a gaslighting, which is, they say that it is very important relationship abuse which happens among the partners or in the boyfriends, girlfriends relationship, dating relationship. This is what they say that has happened. So many times, if someone behaves violently once, they are likely to do it again and again. That's what we have to infer from the victim's side. So what are the warning signs? The important warning signs among the good relationship. Even they may feel that the couple are married, they are living in good relationship, but there are some signs which makes you understand that there is a sign of this abuses which may lead on to an unhealthy way of your relationship. The first sign is the control, that always the person will be controlling you. Whatever you do, whatever you speak, whatever you think, they will be taking control. What they will tell you, this is how you should talk, this is how you should wear, this is how you should speak to others, these are the people you should stalk, you should not talk with them. All these things will be controlled by them. And second, very important, is the jealousy. Irrationally, there is an angry behavior who can speak. If you speak with someone, he and she are perceived as a threat to their relationship. So they will be always persistently accusing you of this flirt. They may say that is a flirting or an inappropriate behavior, which will definitely be a warning sign of an unhealthy relationship. And third is important, is the criticism and calling you by names, brainwashing you to feel worthless. And these are something signs of unhealthy relation. They may say that you don't know anything, you are you are not that qualified, you are not that educative. That type of words which make the women or the couple or the partner feel worthless. That is one important way. There's a control, jealousy, criticism are very important one, and that may lead on to a lot of blaming others, blaming the partner, blaming for all the happening as they are the one which are the cause for the problems. All these things are very important, and that will lead on to very many unhealthy relationships. So that's the control. The abuser seeks to limit their partner's ability to take their own decision, and they make the decision for them. And the abuser will resort to even betray, lies, coercion, manipulate the relationship, showing them emotional abuse, physical violence, and immediately they may even go for a very much into their intimation of to exert their own will over the victim. That is what their control happens. And second, irrational jealousy. This can be very problematic, as this jealousy can manifest itself as false accusation, violence, and monitoring, spying, stalking, prohibiting communication with the opposite sex, and embarrassing and dangerous confrontations in the workplace. This is a very importantly happening among their jealousy, which is an inflated level of possessiveness, and that is of irrational jealousy. All these behaviors should serve as a red flags and indicators for an unhealthy relationship. Then, of course, the violence or threats of violence. Recognizing and acknowledging that you are in a violent relationship is very hard, especially the longer the relationship lasts. It can also be incredibly dangerous to end the relationship, which makes it critical to be methodical and in how you get help for yourself and for the children. It will be a very difficult task. So in a long-term relationship, the violence of threat and the violence is very much dangerous, and sometimes it's very difficult to sense that. So the pattern of abuse among the relationship can be even a subtle, or it could be difficult to see. So you have to familiarize certain aspects in your relationship to detect or to identify the abuse at the earliest way. The warning signs of abuse means mainly the partner humiliates you, yells at you, calls you names. These are some abusing signs, and keeps unrealistic expectations from you and force you to fulfill them, blames you for his or their own mistake, blames everything on the victim, controls all your movement, your social activity, your dressing style, the persons whom you meet or talk, or friends which you are making, and even at your place of work, whomever you are talking, they will be controlling. threaten to harm you, your self-harm, if you leave the relationship. That's a very important threat they make to the relationship. Constantly becomes jealous or angry when you want to spend time with your friends, and harms you physically in any way, including even slapping, pushing, grabbing, all this type of physical violence. Also, it is very harmful, and says hurting things, which but later swears that he or she doesn't accuse you, and having something out of memory he's doing. All these things makes the victim very confused. Sometimes even that is in a relationship, it makes them feel guilty and forces them to believing that the problem is with the relationship or with the partner or with themselves. That makes them go for a lot of psychological trauma which happens in the relationship. So the progress of the relationship, warning signs and the abusive relationship progresses in such a way. First phase, there will be a good love. Second phase, they try to isolate you, because if the abuser wants to make you feel and make you into the abuses, they may try to isolate you from your friends, from your family, and they will try to monitor you, become jealousy, and becomes more possessive, and set you unrealistic boundaries, and makes you get into a very stressful place, so that your relationship will become a very stressful one. So what to do when you come across such things? So the victims and the abusers, the warning signs we know. Suddenly the victims, if they are really affected, especially when a couple comes to you, sometimes they may be a very loving couple sitting with you and talking, but still the girl may feel very abused, which she may not be able to talk with you. So when they are there, you can identify them from their appearance. They will be trying to avoid the family, friends. They will be always spending time with the abuser, because the abuser always want to keep her possessive in his custody, never allow her to talk with others, and that will make them more into a emotional abuse. So very many things. It is very importantly we have to learn that all the time they are into the abuse, and that makes the victim goes in for a lot of physical trauma and even the psychological trauma. So what are the safety tips that if you are experiencing an abuse? This is what they say. First is, consider sharing your concerns with a trusted friend, because many times the victim will not come out whom to talk, how to talk, whether they will take it in the nice way, whether they will accept that I have a problem with my partner. This is what the very many questions they have. But still, when you are feeling something is very stressful in a relationship, consider sharing your concern with a trusted friend. And secondly, develop an escape strategy, because many times we are seeing a lot of relationship, especially in relationship in the higher class groups, they cannot come out of the relationship. Sometimes it is very threatening. They may even go to up to violence, of even sometime a physical violence. Very severe injuries, grievous injuries happens in the violence, especially the domestic violence. It's very commonly seen with the relationship also. So you have to try to identify the partner's identity. It's always better to have your proper safe line to get the local helpline to help you if you find a physical violence, when the partner abuses with a physical violence, which is always very important. So always, the government also has given a lot of helplines. When you come across any type of violence, either it could be a verbal or a physical or a sexual or any violence, always you can have these numbers. You can even share with your friends to just keep them about the women's domestic helpline, which is 181 and 1091. And also they should know about the police line. And there is a National Commission for Women which looks into the domestic line, all the violence against the domestic violence, 24/7 helpline, which is the line, which is a number which they have given. And the National Commission for the Women also, they have given some helpline, which are toll-free number. All these numbers has to be taken care when you're entering into a abusive relationship. Always keep this, because sometimes the abusive relationship can turn into a physical violence, harming the partner. That may be, these lines will be helpful for you when you come across this type of an abuse. So always keep this in mind and try to help any couple who are in an abuse. Because when we are sitting in the clinic, sometimes even we come across couple, we are looking very happy and cheerful, but the girl will not talk. She'll be very quiet. She will not open her mouth. She will have a lot of issues to talk with. The man will not leave her to talk alone. Even if you want to talk with her, they may not allow her to talk with you. At that time, you can sense her and you can help her, because I have seen nearly around 6 or 7 couple like this. They are infertile couple, they come for the treatment, but still she has going through, because he has an azoospermia, and this girl doesn't know how to share her feelings that she want to have a baby, and she has been purposely, this man has been torturing her. And though they come to us for a very, very cheerful face, this man, but he will be treating her very violently. Such type of incidents I happen to see in 3 or 4 couples. So this type of a violence also can happen among apparently looking well cheerful couples outside, but deep inside they may have a lot of abuse inside. So it is our responsibility as a practitioner, as a gynecologist, to look into the couples abuses and try to help them so that the relationship can be made a safer one. Thank you.
Thank you, Jairani. You have taken elaborately through the physical or domestic abuse. Actually, when you tell all the things, many children, many young couples, they go through this, and usually they end up, the marriage is a broken marriage, and they go for divorce and all. And all the things which you told, the warning signs, I have just literally heard a girl telling each and everything which you told. The boy will be feeling behave as if he's protecting, but actually is bossing over her, asking her not to go here, there, and all these things, and causing a lot of stress on her. It doesn't even spare even girls who are working, who are earning. It is the physical, intimate violence is, domestic abuse is so much prevalent. What we see is only the tip of the iceberg. I think we have to education of the children and upbringing of the boys, the good thing. That is a more important need for thing. And vice versa, some boys are also being so much undergo some abuse the girls. I heard one boy is always telling, the girl will be telling that mother has taught her to tell every time that I will do something and die and keep your name, which is so that they will they threaten to get things done. There is some girls also doing it. You don't know. It has been all happening. So domestic violence is prevalent in many instances, and it's your talk is very of all the warning signs are really very eye-opening to everybody, I think. Thank you, Doctor.
Ma'am, that was a wonderful talk, ma'am. Excellent. Actually, you have covered the domestic violence part and all the aspects, and particularly the gaslighting. That was a good point you have started. Because nowadays we see the domestic violence and the physical violence is the main one which we are focusing on, and you have elaborated also what are all the signs before and how we can find out how we can prevent also. And of late we are seeing this emotional abuses more. Particularly after the social media, we can see this emotional abuse more. When particularly the young partners, we can see this emotional abuse. Like they have the photos, and then if they are not agreeing with them, then they will post the photos in social media. Like that also, even between the young partners or even young couple, these things are happening now because of the social media. These are all the new things we are hearing. Because in all these years, we were thinking that mainly because of alcohol. That is the main thing. And the husbands also will tell next day morning, oh, I was under the influence of alcohol. That's why I behaved like that. I am very sorry. And the wife also will accept that. And all the people around them, they will say that otherwise he is a good person. Only because of the alcohol, he has behaved like that.
Yeah.
So
thank you for.
I think that's even this is a teaching session. I can say not only it's an eye opener, even for the MRCOG exams also. Domestic violence is one of the important questions we used to get even in the practical exams. I think even I got one of the OSCE sessions. I think we got that is domestic violence is an important question. So that it's a important thing that every gynecologist should know, like what is domestic violence, how to help our patients to handle it, to identify it. So thank you very much. It's an excellent lecture, ma'am.
Dr. Jairani, but what is the solution?
What is the
solution actually?
Just wanted to say that Foxy has a committee on this. and Dhira, the project which ran for 2 years. One component was the school component where school module we had taught to 10 lakh students. And the other component was the OB-GYN module, which had exactly the UNICEF, based on the UNICEF GBV survivor-centered approach. I mean, what exactly, how it impacts the woman's health, mental, physical, and then sexual abuse, and what is the role of the gynecologist, how to examine, how to understand the red flags, and what to say and what not to say, whether to screen, how to screen. And as Dr. Jayashree said, we all should be not only sensitized and aware, we need a kind of some basic training to talk to them. And also there are many things which we should not say, because inherently as individuals also we tend to be judgmental, of course. We all have that tendency to preach or tendency to say things which we should not say. So that is one thing which we should be very, very aware of what not to say. And the other thing, wonderful talk, Jairani, you have covered all the aspects. I think Dr. Jayashree was saying about alcohol. Of course, in our study, which we published about 350 cases, alcohol plays a major role, apart from patriarchy and the societal issues, of course. But nowadays, we are seeing the impact of drugs, drug abuse. This is social media, Dr. Jayashree mentioned. Drug abuse, even in Kolkata case, we are hearing, we don't know yet, because it's still in court, we should not be talking about it, but so many doubts about it. And I don't know how many of you have heard or read about the France case. Husband, over the past 10 years.
Past 10 years he has kept tortured her.
He has been
every day to give the drugs.
giving his wife drugs, sedatives, and 100 men, unknown strangers, have
In her
raped her.
70th year, they were doing that.
Yes, and she has chosen not to go for privacy, so as to book the 100 people who have abused her. And there was one post which I thought was very important. See, we say that husband, we find it very definitely very, very criminal and problematic. But what about those 100 men? It's a case study, 100 men have thought it's okay to rape a drugged and, sedated woman. And also another part of the story is coming out that there were many men who did not do it. But nobody has cared enough to complain to a police station or call a helpline or, to say that this is wrong. So such things when you really read, and of course, Malayalam movie industry, the women's collective, cinema collective, and it's a huge story. I don't know how many of you, I would recommend to go through the HEMA committee report to understand the kind of, I think we are just, as Premlata madam said, just the tip of the iceberg. We are maybe still struggling with the surface issues. But yes, the dialogue has to start. We should keep telling that it is wrong, it is problematic, it is not done. So it may take quite many years, but we should still keep fighting. And we also shared somewhere, it will take around 160, not 160, it's about 300 plus years for gender equality to be achieved. I mean, if at all we go in the right way. So that is how far away we are from real gender equality and real issues. As we are struggling with the older issues of patriarchy, alcoholism, and all these new things, social media and drug abuse, or multiple complex things. The interpersonal relationships, I just had set the tone actually. How many problems are there as such? So I think the topics you have chosen are really, really good today, Jairani. You have mixed the sexuality aspect of it, the sexual relationship, and you have merged into the violence part of it, because all are interrelated, cannot be separated. So I hope we move towards a positive relationship.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
Apart from alcohol, drug abuse,
the interpersonal relationship is mainly dependent upon I think, our culture, upbringing of the
Yes.
children. I think you have to be.
If we are able to respect the other person as
the very
just like
important
yourself, respect is the
egoism. That is the egoism that is happening. That is
it's
what in
just
the
respect.
educated.
I feel it's the respect, Jairani. Once you
Trust and the
respect
respect and the
somebody, you
trust.
cannot
Yeah.
abuse.
Yeah.
Wonderful webinar. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very nicely told, Jairani. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, one and all. A very special thanks to Shield, and a very special thanks to Sri Priya for coordinating nicely, and a very special thanks to Nitya for doing the MOC work. A very special thanks to Kiran and the note to our committee, all the members here, and
Jairani,
the
do you
chairperson,
think
Dr. Premlata, Madam.
well, the domestic violence is mainly on the girls or also vice versa? What do you think about?
Ma'am,
No, it is on the
mostly
boys
the
also,
girls,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah,
It is
that's
on
what
the
I just
boys,
wanted
but
to
no,
know.
but statistically, it
Statistically,
is
domestic violence is more on the
prevalent.
women, ma'am.
More
Especially
that is
in
also there,
our
I'm just telling.
Yeah, boys are
57%
also face
is
lot of
only in
abuse,
the,
as we see in POCSO, the sexual abuse.
Okay,
yeah.
ma'am.
That's a
Thank you,
wonderful,
ma'am. Thank you so much.
excellently carried out.
Thank you so much. Thank you all the speakers, and thank you all the delegates for joining us, and a very special thanks to Shield for giving us the platform. Thank you.
Thank you.